This is the discussion you had yesterday. Who was in this discussion? It was in the evening, except for Kostas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. And do you remember what Kostas said yesterday evening regarding what's as a successful young basketball player when you ask him what he, she wants to be? What was the correct answer?
To be an athlete who plays basketball.
Yeah. I want to be a good athlete playing basketball. That was the right answer. And so there's the question. What is the meaning of being a good athlete? Can someone define it? Or do you have some ideas? Or from your point of view, what is a good athlete? There were 3 skills just below here. It's a little bit small here on the picture. Do you know the 3 skills?
Athletic skills,
yeah.
skills, and mental capabilities.
Yeah, that's right. Fighter, being smart, the mental ability, then the basketball skills, and also training hard athletic skills. And here, Kostas also included nutrition. And he also gave us an example regarding nutrition and also with the Coke. And I'm going to show you, perhaps Coke might be useful, perhaps not. And yeah, we're going to discuss it later. And some questions regarding nutrition. Is it important for whom? So is it important for athletes, endurance, team sports, strength athlete? Who says that it's important for this? Please raise your hands. Okay, not 100%. That's a little bit surprising. So the rest can go out. So for basketball players? Okay, also some guys not raising their hand. Do basketball players have sufficient nutritional knowledge? What do you think? No. There was also a study here, you see the energy intake, and there we have the big 3 macronutrients, the carbohydrates, the protein, and the fat. And there you see what's in reality. It's about 40% for carbs, 13% or nearly 15% to proteins, and 44% to fat. So what do you say, what is too much, what is too less? What are the recommendations? Pardon?
Too less protein, it's obvious.
Okay.
Too much fat.
Yeah, that's it. Here are the official recommendations. Normally 55% of energy intake should be gained by carbohydrates and only 30% of fat. Not enough also the vitamins and folic acid and iron and fibers. And they have a questionnaire, and there you see the basic knowledge regarding nutrition was sufficient. But the knowledge regarding sports nutrition was mostly incorrect. So there's a huge amount of knowledge which you can transfer to them. So the conclusion of this paper was that they have an inadequate food consumption because they don't know it better. And therefore we try to give them the hints and the nutritional information they need. And who should give this support? Do you have any ideas? Perhaps in your federation or in your club? Who gives the nutritional recommendations to the athletes? The doctor? Yeah? Only the doctor? Physiotherapist, yeah? Coaches, yeah?
Veteran players.
Pardon?
Veteran players.
Veteran players, yeah? Pardon? Yeah? So I also put some up. Do you know a trophologist? What is this? It's a guy who only cares about the nutrition, and it's very sophisticated. And they're the physician, the doctors, the coaches, and then also the dietitian. Do someone have your federation? Do they have a dietitian? Okay. Physiotherapist, and sometimes also from the pharmacy someone. And this is also the order. These here should be the first ones, and then there's a distance up to the pharmacy because it's more and more the direct connection to the athletes, and therefore I put it within this direction. Do basketball players, coaches, have sufficient nutritional knowledge What do you think? No. Okay, so we're gonna try to change it within the next 90 minutes or 87 minutes. So these are the topics here I'm gonna discuss with you. And so there are different cycles during the game, before the game. And normally if you have one game, so it's not within such a big tournament, so you have different periods. So this is the basic nutrition you have all the time. It's during training, but also during competition. And I'm gonna show you what are the different markers of this basic nutrition and the characteristics. And then there's a direct preparation. Normally you have less, or you have 1 week, and this is the 2 to 8 days before the game. Then you have the game day nutrition, which begins in the morning and then goes up also during the game, and then the post-game, post-competition nutrition. And it lasts up to 4 days. This depends, the duration depends on the period between the games or the competitions. And I'm going to show you what are the relevant characteristics of this. So here you see the basic nutrition, and this is providing energy and nutrients, so it's a well-balanced diet. Who of you knows what's a well-balanced diet? Because it's a saying and there's no information in it, and I'm going to show it to you, but it's easy to digest. And this is very important because if some of your athletes, they have problems with the gut, so you don't have any benefits from it. And then the direct preparation for the competition. So you try to create an optimal position for the athletes just to go into the competition. And then you have before, immediately before and during the competition. This is very important that they don't have any problems with the gut, because if the athletes has problems with the gut, have to go to the toilet every 5 minutes, then you can't use it. And then the post-competition nutrition, it's very important for a quick recovery, so that you can refill all your storages and you can remove all the, I call it waste products like lactate, but all of the muscle damage. So these are the requirements. I think you know it even better than me, therefore we can go very quickly through the slide. So you see it's a very short duration sprints, and so the strain is very short compared to some other like marathon races and things like that. And you have brief recovery periods, and there you see these are the requirements you need to be a successful athlete. Speed, strength, power, sprint ability, but also, this is very important, the aerobic capacity. So it's not only running 10 meters and then stopping, and over the whole duration of the game, which lasts about 2 to, yesterday evening it was even longer, and so it's several hours, and there you need also the aerobic endurance capacity. And these are the factors for the decline in performance, and first of all, it's the limitation of the energy supplies. And I will show it perhaps how you can influence it positively, and so that you get the optimum out of the athlete. And also the metabolite accumulation. This is a consequence of this limitation here, because if you don't have enough glycogen in your muscles, then also the ability to produce lactate is decreased, but there's also the acids are going up. So this is also the soreness of the muscle, and therefore, as a last consequence, there's a failure to activate the muscles. So even if the athlete is willing to contract the muscle, he can't do it anymore, because there's a negative feedback, and because of the pain, if you have pain somewhere, you aren't able to do it. So this is the failure to compete and to play. So the nutrition is only one matter where you can try to improve all these things, especially the energy supply. So these are the energy storages you have in your body, and there you see the carbs, the fat, the proteins, and the phosphates. And there you see this is an untrained guy, and here's a trained guy, and there you can see you can train the muscle glycogen very good. So here it's an increase of nearly 50 or 60%. You can also train the fat in your muscles. There you see it's a 4-fold increase in the muscle. Regarding the proteins, I think it's pretty the same. But here you can also train the energy-rich phosphates in your muscle. So what is the most important thing of these for a basketball player? What do you think? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, why? Yeah, so all the pathways here go through the phosphates, so the energy-rich phosphates, that's correct, yeah. But what's the limitation? You only have small amounts. So I'm going to show you how long this lasts, but this is totally correct because here's the ATP production rate. ATP is used to give the energy to the fibers, and you need it for sprint and everything, and there you see this is a very quick energy supply. In contrast to that, you see that fat is pretty slow. So a marathon runner would need this, the fat. You have also a pretty big storage, but here you see the storage is small, but it's very quick. So we need a combination of all the things here. This is how you told it to me. This is the sprinter. You need it, the ATP, the energy-rich phosphates. You need it. It lasts up to 10 seconds. So it's one sprint, and then it's empty. And so all of the other energy supplies here, the anaerobic glycolysis, aerobic and also the fatty acids oxidation, you need it to restore these phosphates. So this is the circle. And here are also the metabolisms which you need during basketball. And I think you need especially the first two. Am I correct? I think you should know it better than me. Is it like that? So this is 2 to 20 seconds at maximum. This is 2 to 10 minutes. So I think these are the most important ones. The last one, oops, excuse me. I think you don't see it here. It's for the recovery. So if you take the player out, if he was 10 to 15 minutes on the field, then there should be a recovery of these energy-rich phosphates, and yeah, you need it to improve this storage. So to do a shortcut of my talk, and then all of you can go home, it's here is the Australian Institute of Sports. They have a ABCD classification, and this classification is ranked the food and supplement ingredients into 4 groups according to the evidence which we gain from the studies and also practical considerations. And here I have displayed you the group A, and there you can see it's the highest evidence we have, and also the practical considerations shows that it's useful during sports. And here you see sports food. It's like a sports drink, sports gel, and liquid meal, whey protein, sports bar, and here, but also some supplements like calcium, iron, vitamin D, and here performance supplements. So we call it ergogenic substances, and there you see caffeine, beta-alanine, beetroot, and creatine. And I'm going to show you within the next 80 minutes now these substances and perhaps show you why they are in this list, because in the other groups, the B, this might be useful, but we are not so sure, or the Australians, they are not so sure. And D, there's no recommendation. So if a supplement or a substance is within group D, we don't recommend it. So you can waste the money, you can buy something else, you can buy a car, but don't use it for buying such supplements. So regarding the carbs, why are carbs so important also for basketball players? And there's a pretty nice study, and they hypothesized that an elevated blood glucose is associated with an improvement in sports and the skills. And I think the skills, you all know them, are here like a shuttle run, a 20-meter maximal sprint, then 10 rep max vertical jump, and then also some motoric skills and some tests of alertness. And I told you that I do the testing of the alertness now. And do someone of you know the Stroop color word test? Yeah? Okay, so one guy, and you practice it? Okay, so you have no advantage. Pardon? I haven't heard it.
It was a joke, he said.
Ah, okay. So you can come down and perhaps read it afterwards. Okay, so you have 16 seconds to do this testing, and this will be the panel. And there you see you have to name it in accordance to the symbols and not to the words which are below. And so this would be a red circle, and this would be a blue square. So we go back, and after 16 seconds, it will disappear. And then you will say me how many of these symbols you have reached. Okay? Everyone for himself. Okay? And then I'm gonna tell you things regarding the analysis of this. Because if you, so we're gonna do it, everyone for himself. Perhaps you can do it in your own language, or to make it a little bit more different, also in English. But stay calm, and then we go ahead. So, anyone reach 16? 15? 14? 15? Okay, good. Did you have a coffee this morning? Yeah, okay. 14? 13? 12? 11? 10? Okay, 9? 8? Someone reached 0? 1? Okay, so we can try it again. Yeah, so you can read, you have here a symbol. And there you have a name or a word below it. And you have to go through the lines, and then you have to name the symbol and not to read what's below. And this is a testing of alertness. Okay, so we're going to do, and you have 16 seconds.
So no colors, just
Yeah, here you have to say it's a red circle. This is a blue square, correct. This is a red rhombus, okay? Yellow rhombus. Okay, we're gonna do it again.
So we should count.
Pardon? No, you only to say it to yourself. Normally you have to say it. Normally you have to say it to your coach, so you have to read it like a book. But so you are too many, and therefore you have to tell it to yourself, okay? So we're gonna go. Take attention. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. Stop. So 15. Okay, one guy. 14. Okay, pretty good. 13. 12. 11. 10. 9. 8? So 9, 8, 7, 6? Okay, so we're gonna go on, and I think 2 guys with 9. Or? Yeah, 1 and? Okay, 3 guys. And I'm gonna show you the results or what you can do with it. And they also tested here within the study how carbs can influence these abilities shown here above. And they have to ingest before the exercise, then at halftime, and also in smaller volumes during the quarters. And there we see that the guys who ingested the carbs here, they improved in the shuttle run to fatigue 37%. Do any one of you knows a training who improves this shuttle run to fatigue about 1/3? Any training modality? Do you know it? I don't know it either. So it's a pretty huge improvement. It's about 1/3 you can improve it only by ingestion of carbohydrates within the correct amount and within the correct period. So this is very, very important. And all subjects, they improved. So there's no one getting worse in this group. And also the 20-meter sprint, you see here are the different quarters. And you see, especially in the last quarter, there was an improvement in the group with the carbohydrate ingestion compared to the placebo. So also in the very short exercises, there you see the improvement. And also here in the skill testing, also with here the reported perception of fatigue and also the mental abilities, they improved. So where are the guys with the 9 ones? I think you need a little bit of carbs. Oh, excuse me. Oh. Okay, anyone else who needs some carbs this morning? You also had 9, yeah. Perhaps you can share it with him. Otherwise, you have to fall asleep. So we can go on. And on this slide, I will show you what are the difference between the recommendations and the everyday life. And there we have different sports. And here, these are the recommendations. Here you see alcohol, fat, proteins, and carbohydrates. And there you see fat is about 25%, then proteins about 15%, and the carbs about 55 to 60%. And this is seen here in the normal population. What do you think? What is too much? What is too less? What is most obvious? The alcohol, yeah. Here you see it's about 7% of the energy is gained by alcohol. And also the fat is pretty high. Here you see a professional soccer player. Here you see a professional swimmer. Here figure skating, and here a weightlifter. So which one of these has the best nutrition compared to the recommendations? What do you think? The figure skater, yeah. It's pretty good if you look at here the fat and also the carbs. And what are the worst ones? Here, I think the swimmer, and also here the weightlifter. It's too much fat. Perhaps the swimmer, they have the opinion that fat swims above the normal water. But yeah, here you see this is pretty too much. And here in the figure skater, it's only 1,500 kilocalories per day. How much is the recommendation for you or for a normal person? 2,000, yeah, that's correct. So it's a malnutrition here, and all the carbs are nearly cheap sugars, and therefore it's also not optimal. These are the recommendations for the carbs. It's about carb high basis nutrition, approximately 55%, and the pre-competition aim is just to load the muscles with the glycogen, and so that you have enough carbs for the competition. And in the post-competition period, you should have a quick refill of the storages, so that you have for the next competition also enough carbs. And we know that there's big improvements, as I showed it to you, also in basketball with the carb high nutrition. So how long are the carbs storages in your body? How long are they sufficient to provide you with the energy? Do you know it? I wrote it's about 60 minutes you need for an exercise, but sometimes also during shorter periods. And there you see, here is the exercise time, and there you see a group. This was a placebo group, so they got water. And this was a group, the blue ones, with a carbohydrate ingestion. And there you see it's about 90 minutes. And there you see the carb group is still elevated. It's pretty on a stable level. And here you see there's a big decrease of the oxidation within the placebo group. So normally, if you have a sufficient glycogen storage here in the body, is about 90 minutes of energy. If the game is longer and you don't ingest any carbs, then also your ability to perform will decrease. So this lasts out of 60 to 90 minutes if you have an exercise which is longer than that. So you need some carbs. But what carbs? What do you think? What are the optimum composition of the carbs? Do you only need like the things I throw away, the glucose, or do you also need other things? Here's also a very nice study, and here you see it's the ingestion of glucose and fructose, and here of glucose. And you see in this group, only the glucose group, there's an amount of about 0.8 of the carbohydrate oxidation. And if you look at this group, at the glucose plus fructose, so it's a 55 or approximately 50% higher carb intake. So what's the meaning of for you? Is it sufficient only to ingest glucose? No. You should always use the combination of glucose and fructose. How can you do it? Where can you find fructose? Fruits, yeah. That's totally correct. And which fruits, for example? Bananas, orange, yeah. So that's a big amount what you can use, but you can also use it in some shields, because this is also known by the companies, by a lot of the companies, and the shields and the bars, they have both the glucose and the fructose. So if you want to buy those bars or the shields or some supplements, you have to have a look if there are both carbs in it, because there we know that you have an increased uptake. Glucose and fructose for a quick recovery. And what should you do pre-competition? So if your game is really early in the morning, so let's say about 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock, what is your normal schedule for this day? When will your team stand up? If it's at 10 in the morning?
It's 1 at 10.
That would mean competition is at 10.
It's the competition is at 10? We'll stand up at 7?
At least 4 hours.
Yeah. And should all the players have a breakfast?
Yep.
Of course. And there you see why. This is a group which fasted for about 12 hours, so an overnight fasting. And this is the group who had the last meal 3 hours before the exercise. And there you see all the performance, all the oxidation is here in the fasting group. It's below the group of the intake, and there they also, here was a breakup. So they performed on a higher level, and also they were able to perform a longer time. And therefore, if you have the first game in the morning, also the breakfast is essential. So also if one guy says, hey, I'm not able to digest so fast, perhaps you have to stand up a little bit earlier. So we also have these problems also with the skiers regarding the alpine skiers, but also the biathletes who have their competitions pretty in the morning. So it's about, start is about 9 o'clock. So, and sometimes we get up at 5 o'clock because of that. So we know that there's a limitation, and there we try to avoid this limitation, or we can manage it. And regarding carbo loading, has someone of you done it before? Carbo loading? Some former players here? Okay, but no one used it. So there we see for carbo loading, we know that we can increase the muscle storage of the carbs, and there first you need a depletion of the storages, and then you see after the depletion there's a bigger increase in the carbo storages in your body than in the group who has no depletion. So you need it, that the body knows, hey, I have to restore it and I have to refill it, and this stimulus is very essential for it. So carbo loading, it's after this intense and prolonged exercise. Perhaps you have to go with your players for a run, and then you have a poor diet, a carbohydrate poor diet. And this is perhaps a little bit long for you. It might be possible within the preparation, but not within your season. So it's also, you can shrink it just to 1 day. And after 1 day, then you have to have 4 to 5 days of increased uptake. So this is pretty much here, carb intake. And there you can increase the muscle glycogen of about 10 to 15%. So this is a pretty huge amount. But you have to know, you also have a body weight gain of about 1 to 2 kilos. But sometimes I think you also want it. And therefore also sometimes it's pretty tough for the athletes to do it, especially the first depletion period, especially for the head and for the motivation, because it's a lot of pain. So there's also a little example for carbo loading. There you have a 70 kilogram male athlete, and so this is a pretty high energy expenditure, about 4,000 calories, and he should take of about 700 grams of carbs, 135 grams of proteins, and 90 grams of fat. And this is a schedule for the meals which we gave to them. This is a real meal plan for them. So do you know all the things, how much carbs they have, how much proteins they have? Do you have a feeling for it, or don't you have any feeling? You don't? Okay. Because of that, here's an example. So perhaps every row of you, first row, they are looking for the breakfast, second row looking for the snacks, third row for dinner, and so on. So does every row have something to write on? So you can write it down, and then I will show you the energy. So fourth row is also the snack, fifth row is the evening, and sixth row is the late snack. So you are the late snack, and then the seventh row is beginning with the breakfast again. And then we gonna discuss it. What are your recommendations to the athlete? Okay. Every row got the requirements, and then I'm gonna show you the nutrients in it. Here you see it's 1 cup, and here you see it's also 1 bowl. So it's nearly the same, and then perhaps we can calculate it, what you recommend to the athlete, and then I'm gonna show you the results what we gonna recommend to the athletes. First row is up to where? Is it? Okay, does every row knows about the nutritions? About the carbs? So we're gonna have a look. First row, how many bowls of cereals would you suggest? Someone coming up? One? 1 cup? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Say stop.
I'll say
2. Okay. Then how many cups of milk? 1, 3. 1. And then how many bananas? 2. Okay, we're gonna write 2. And how many milliliters of orange juice?
I just have a glass.
Okay, 1 glass. So this was the breakfast. And then regarding the snack, second row, how many toasts? What would you suggest to your player? 2 toasts. And how many milliliters of sports drink? Pardon? Liters. Okay. So for the last ones, it's getting more difficult because they have to calculate it on the basis of these things. Okay. So we're gonna do the dinner. Yeah, the dinner. How many sandwiches? Pardon?
There's no lunch.
It's the dinner. Excuse me. Yeah, it's the dinner. Yeah. How many sandwiches? 1? How big it is? If it's 2 meters?
When is the game?
It's only for the carbo loading. So the carbo loading should be done before the game. It's in the preparation period. One. And then the toasts as the midnight. 2. And how many milliliters of sports drink? 200. So this is what you told me, and oops, and these are the recommendations which are calculated by one of our dietitians. So it's 3 bowls. I think, yeah, this is pretty good. 1 cup, that's also pretty good. 1 banana, you said 2 bananas, that's also okay. It depends on the size. This was, you can also have a look at the sizes. One is a large one and a small one. And there, pardon? Yeah, it's nearly the same, so pretty good, I have to say. The snack, it's 1 toast, 2 toasts, okay, and 500 milliliters, so this is pretty perfect. How many sandwiches? I said, bless you. I said it's perhaps a bigger one, so you decided to give him only 1 sandwich, and the yogurt, 200 grams, and 500 milliliters 400, and yeah, you have 50 milliliters. Perhaps we have to add a 0. And there, for the snack. It's the ice cream. I think you like the ice cream, especially if it's hot. So we only recommend to take 1 scoop and 1 bar. And here in the evening, you also recommend 2 plates and 4 slices of bread. You recommend 4, we recommend 3. And we recommend also 2 glasses of a recovery drink. And as a late snack, you recommend 1 to 2 toasts and also 500 milliliters. You recommend 200 milliliters. But I think you are pretty good. I also do this testing with other coaches. And sometimes it's pretty funny what they recommend as a balanced diet, and I think you have some feeling for it, and that's great to see it. So I think you're pretty good prepared. And this is also, if someone isn't able to ingest carbs, this is also one thing. What you can do, it's the mouth rinse. Has anybody heard about it? Yeah, what is it? A little bit louder. You don't have a micro?
Talking about the carbohydrate in the mouth rinse.
Yeah. What is it?
You swirl around in the solution and then spit it out and see if it has the same effect whether you ingest carbohydrate.
Yeah, it's spit it out instead of swallowing. And so yeah, there you see for a long time duration exercise, there you see there's an improvement of the performance effect. But if you look at other types of performance like sprints and strength training, there we don't have any effects. So I think perhaps for you it might be possible to use it within the last quarter, perhaps within the last 5 minutes, if someone is decreasing in the performance. And because we know that the mouth rinse, it's not an effect of the metabolism, but it's only an effect on the brain. Because if you have the carb solution in the mouth and you taste the sweetness of it, then your last energy reserves are mobilized, and therefore it's possible to compete on a higher level. But if you use it within the first quarter, then you deplete all your storages, and then you will drop down within the second quarter. Therefore, use it, if you want to use it, just at the end of the game to mobilize all the storages of the athlete, but not before. Otherwise, you will have bad results. So this is also a thing, because you have the storage of the carbs of about 60 to 90 minutes. Normally, it lasts for the whole period of the game, but if there's a decline, you can use it. What's the best time to eat after the exercise? Yeah.
The storage of 60 to 90 minutes.
Yeah.
That's during continuous.
Yeah, that's during continuous exercise. So you can refill it in the game normally, but if the game is lasting about 3 to 4 hours, there's also it's comparable to about 60 minutes of moderate continuous exercise. Yeah.
So if I have a player who I don't want to use at the end of the game, for example, and I want him peaking at some different point, so I use this method also to.
You can also use it, yeah, but
At the beginning of the game, if I know that I need him now to perform at his highest possible.
yeah, normally the effects are not so huge within the beginning of the game, because there you have sufficient storages in the body. So the longer the game, the more sufficient it is and the bigger the effects are. So if he isn't possible to compete at the beginning of the game at the highest level, then I think it's the wrong man for you. So you can't do this performance enhancement at the beginning, because there's no effect, because normally there's sufficient carbohydrate storage within the body.
rice and chicken, like Arnold Schwarzenegger said, or whatever? What do
So
you think about it?
I'm gonna show it to you. What's the best food for the refilling of the storages? And here you see the best time point. It's within the first 15 to 30 minutes after your competition, after the exercise. So is it possible always for your players to get the carbs and the proteins after this period? Yeah, only shakes, but normally not, I think. This is also a big problem we had. So if we have a competition, then it's the flower ceremony, then it's the press conference, then it's the dope testing, and then you have to go to the hotel. How long does it take normally? 1 hour. At least, yeah, at least 1 hour. So just up to 2 hours. And there you see, after 2 hours, is there any anabolic activity? No, there's no anabolic activity anymore. So if you have several games within a short period of time, you have to use it just here. It's after 15 to 30 minutes, there's the biggest anabolic effect. So you have to have some methods where you can provide a quick ingestion of carbohydrates and also proteins after this. It depends. We also have some energy-rich solutions and drinks, and which we gave directly after the competition to the athletes, so they can sweat down and then they have to drink it. And there you see also here the effects. This is immediately after the competition or after the exercise, and this is 2 hours. And there you see only 1/3 of the effect if you ingest it more than 2 hours after the exercise. And this is the metabolic window is closing very rapidly. Therefore, you have to ingest the carbohydrates at the optimum of 15 to 30 minutes post-exercise. So regarding the fats, are they important? Yeah? Good fats, yeah. That's right. Here I showed you good fats, the omega-3 fatty acids, and they are found in sea fish. And do you think that they have performance-enhancing properties? Is it possible? Maybe, yeah, that's a good answer. And unfortunately, I don't have any sweets anymore. But I will show you why. Here you see, I think it's a little bit difficult to see it, so I will explain it to you. There we have two groups. It's the one with the omega-3 fatty acids high and the one with the low omega-3 fatty acids. And there, the CRP level, this is a marker of inflammation, they were measured. And here you have a heavy eccentric exercise, so you have a very big stimulus for inflammation, and there you see post-exercise in the group with a low omega-3 fatty acid index, there was a higher sign of inflammation. Here you see in the group with the high omega-3 fatty acid index, there was a low inflammation. This is also seen here for muscle soreness. You see here the group with the high omega-3 index and the group with the low omega-3 index. You also see this clinical sign of the muscle soreness. You see that it's increased in the group with the low index. So this is also post-training. It might be important for you that you know that you can increase the ability for the next training, because you see it's here, it's a big difference in between of the two groups. If you train very hard, if you want to train every day, then you have to have a look that the omega-3 fatty acids are increased within your athletes. But is it only some clinical signs? No, it's also the strength testing. If we have a look here, it's the group with the high omega-3 fatty acids and the group with the low omega-3 fatty acids. And there you see extension and torque. You see both increased within the group of the high omega-3 fatty acids. It's also here, if you have a look at the marker of muscle damage, what you can see. So it's here in the placebo group, it's much higher than in the omega-3 supplementin group. There you can see with a supplement you can improve the muscle damage, not only the muscle soreness but also the real muscle damage of your athletes. This is also seen here for the inflammation, so there's also a decrease of inflammation caused by the exercise. So, but what we also know, if you take, for example, some supplements like the omega-3 fatty acid pills, it's very important when you ingest it, because you can't eat so much fish because it's not so concentrated. Therefore, we recommend also for our athletes that they ingest it with the pills. And here you see it's very important when you take the supplement. If you take it in the morning without anything else in your stomach, then the bioavailability is pretty low because the resorption is pretty low. So if you want to ingest it, take it to a fatty meal. So you have to take it for the lunch, for example, where you also take some other fats with it because it's getting out of the gut much better than in the morning. Regarding proteins, so do you know a lot of proteins and strength training? Okay, so here are some facts. We know that after a strength training 1 to 2 days, there is an increased turnover of the muscle because by the strength training you cause a damage of the muscle. This is also what you want to, because only if you cause the damage, there's also with the compensation and perhaps also with the super compensation, there might be a gain in performance. And but we need this protein buildup for the super compensation. If you don't have it, there's no muscular hypertrophy. And we know that some amino acids might be valuable or might be beneficial for you to gain even more in the muscles. Here especially leucine might be one of these amino acids. And we know that the protein synthesis of the muscle is 3 to 5 hours after the strain, after the training, is it at the highest peak. So some of the very rapidly absorbable proteins might be within the blood 30 minutes after the ingestion. So if you have the maximum of about 3 to 5 hours after the exercise, if you ingest it too early, then the effect might be decreased. So there you have to have a very smart timing of the proteins. So first you have to do the carbs, and then perhaps afterwards you have to ingest the proteins. And there it's recommendable to do it 5 to 7 portions over the whole day. So don't take too much, but try to provide a very stable supply of the proteins.
Excuse me, can I ask this?
Yeah.
Question about the proteins after the practice or workout, you recommend the quick proteins, right? Not the slow one.
Yeah.
Like eggs and the whey.
I will show it to you because of the leucine, which nutrition is high in leucine, for example, because we know that for leucine there's a pretty good evidence that it's beneficial. And I'm going to show it to you. And we also know that the combination of the carbs with the very quick proteins might be beneficial. But if you want to do it here over the whole day, and so if you want to have 5 to 7 protein portions per day, then you have to have the long-lasting proteins. And here, protein intake and the muscle mass, you see it's beneficial both in trained and untrained. And also, if you have a look at the maximum strength, you see the 1 rep max in the leg press. There you see it's also the proteins which might be beneficial for your athletes. So the dosage of proteins, this is also a big discussion also regarding scientists, and this is a formula for the non-athlete, so like me and all the other guys. Here is a leisure time athlete, it's 0.8 to 1.0 grams per kilogram per day, and there might be an increase up to 2 grams per kilogram body weight per day. Though this might be a very high dosage, and we don't know yet if this very high dosage is really beneficial for the athletes. And this is a pretty new statement, and there you can see this is endurance athletes, but perhaps it might be beneficial for the strength athletes and for the team sports, but we don't know it yet. And but we have here some very important topics, and best effects immediately post up to 2 hours. This is what we talked about. So it's the quick proteins, which are in the blood within 30 minutes after ingestion, and then you also have the additional effects with the carbs, and the quality is very important. So that you have a high quality lean meat or fish, milk, dairy products, soy products, and I'm going to show you what I promised to you, the food highest in leucine, and there you see it's the egg, it's soy protein, it's seaweed. Who ate seaweed? 1, 2? No one else? Seaweed? It's this year. It's out. Okay. Someone is getting physically sick. Then the game meat, and here you see elks and chicken, and these are the products which are pretty high in leucine, and here you see the egg is the top performer within these nutritions, and therefore we recommend it. Also the soy protein seems to be pretty good. Regarding the fluid intake, so what do you recommend to your players during the game? Water? Anything else? Pardon? Isotonic drinks? Okay. Minerals? Anything else? Electrolyte, yeah. So, is it important to avoid dehydration? Here, yes. This is a good answer. And here you see, it's a group, it's dehydrated, and then one group is rehydrated. So it's a euhydration. This is about 2.5% still dehydrated, and this group is still dehydrated of about 5% of body mass. And if you look now at the performance, here you see it's the different sets. The dark one, the first, is the very good hydrated group. Then the brighter ones are the dehydration of about 2.5%. And here the last bar, this one, is about 5% body weight dehydrated. And there you see that the work capacity is decreased within the dehydrated groups and is the best within the very good hydrated group. Therefore, it's very important to get your athletes to be euhydrated. So this is also the recommendations of the American College of Sports Medicine, that we see a decrease in physical performance if you have a decrease of, sometimes it's 1%, here they recommend up to 2%, it should be avoided. So try to try that your athletes are euhydrated. And what's the best drink after the competition to do the rehydration? And there you see regarding sodium and also the amount, and there you see it's here the dehydration of the 3 groups, and then one group, it was a beverage which was low in sodium and a beverage which was high in sodium. And there you see the one group, they refilled about 50% of the body weight loss, one group 100%, one group 150%, and one group 200%. They refilled after, here you see hours, and then you see here the both groups, they are pretty similar. It's the group of about 150 and 200% of the amount they lost before they were refilled. And there you see it's even better within the group with the high sodium refillment. So you need the electrolytes and also a certain amount of the fluid. And there you see high in sodium and also a high quantity of fluid. It's more than they lose with the body weight to refill it. So also regarding the sports drinks after the competition, they should have a protein intake, for example, like milk. And there we see it's about 20 to 25% should be within that drink, because we know that the recovery is improved after that. And it's not only electrolytes and the fluid, but also the macronutrients you have in the drinks. So drinking or calling the doctor, what would you suggest? What is better?
That was my question. If an athlete loses 2 to 3 kilos
Yeah.
during a competition, it's kind of hard to refill 200%, just like you said. It's almost 6 liters of liquid.
Yeah.
Like, what's the time period after the exercise or after the game in which he should intake that amount of liquid?
It should be within 2 to 4 hours.
6 liters within 2
Yeah.
to 4 hours.
So I think it's possible to do it. Yeah.
Since intravenous whatever is regarded as a forbidden method concerning doping, it's drinking.
Yeah, that's a very good comment and answer. So let's have a look. Also regarding the studies, is it necessary to do it intravenously? And there we see it's also IV, oral IV or non-fluid, and there you see the body loss. It's pretty the same whether you take it orally or whether you take it intravenously. So also if someone says, because of the anti-doping regularies, we are not able to refill our athletes after the competition sufficiently, here you see this is totally wrong, because it's the same way if you do it drinking or if you do it with an infusion. And therefore, it's okay if it's written within the anti-doping regularities, so that it's only drinking. So recommendations, it's about 200 to 500 milliliters before the sport, but half an hour up to 2 hours, so not immediately before. And I think it's also for you, it's vibration and jumping, it might be a little bit lower, so it might be about 150 just to 300 milliliters. And then during the sports, every 10 to 15 minutes, also a small amount. And if you have a thirst of an athlete, it's too late. So you have to avoid the thirst, so you have to drink regularly. And not too cold, because if it's too cold, then there's vasoconstriction also in the gut, and then the absorption of the fluid is not so good, and therefore it's about 15 degrees or even warmer. It's the best absorption within the gut. And also still water, and we recommend isotonic sports drinks also with the carbs. This is very important, but also with the sodium, as I showed it to you. And then in the first hours post-exercise, there I showed it to you, it's not only the amount, but also the electrolytes, which are very important. If you have a tournament or training camp in the pre-season period, there you have to monitor, perhaps, especially if you do it in the warmer conditions, if they are euhydrated or if they drank too less. So do you know one method? Here I showed it to you. This might be the color of the urine, and it's easy to measure. So every of the athletes, they have to look at the color of the urine. If it's getting brown, then it's dehydrated. If it's getting nearly colorless, then they are euhydrated, yeah. Very good. Every 15 minutes you have to drink. And this might be especially during the training camps. You have to also to avoid hyperhydration. So this means hydration only of pure water without any electrolytes and without any macronutrients like carbs. And so if you have a look, this is at the Western State 100 miles endurance run. This is at mile 55. There you can compare it, the color of your urine, if it's a Guinness, see your medical. If it's an IPA, hydrate more. If it's a pale ale, hydrate. And if it's a coarse light, then it's euhydrated. So you can show it perhaps to your athletes if they are older. Otherwise, you have to translate it in a Coke and in a apple juice or something like that. Okay, so the summary, we have a basic fluid requirement of about 2.5 liters for the male guys, and for the female guys, it's about 2 liters. You have to drink before the competition or the training, and you have to avoid loss of body weight or too much of body weight for about 1 hour. There might be a loss of 500 grams, might be okay. And we know that the carbohydrate ingestion might improve your performance, and they should also take the sodium with it, and you should have monitoring techniques like the urine to have over a longer period of time to control it. And in the post-exercise period, you should rehydrate with about 150% of the body weight loss. So regarding the micronutrients, I think it's a big market. Millions or billions of dollars are made with it, and but we don't know if they are really good spent the money. So I will show it to you. This is a very good database, so this is the highest level of evidence we have currently. It's the Cochrane database, and there you see routine vitamin C supplementation is not justified. In some periods, it might have beneficial effects, so during colds, but not during the whole time. And we also know that the vitamin C, if it's deficient, so it might have negative effects. So there you also need to have a very good intake. So what are the nutrients you might take with the vitamin C? Where you can find a lot of vitamin C in it? Lemon, orange, yeah, that's typical. And there normally, if you have one orange, then you have a lot of vitamin C, so that's totally sufficient. And we also know, might be important for you for the training, that if you have very large doses, it's about 1 gram per day of vitamin C, you might block your training adaptations. Why that? What's the training? What do you do with the training? With the training you have an injury of your muscles. That's correct, isn't it? And then you get a healing, it's the compensation, and then you get a super compensation. And if this damage isn't so big with all the oxidative stress and the inflammation, then the super compensation isn't so big. And the super compensation is your training effect. So if you limit the injury of the muscle, this is done also by the vitamin C and also the oxidative stress, the super compensation and your training's adaptation are impaired. Therefore, we want also a little bit of damage of the muscle, so you get the improvements. So therefore, we know there are several studies that regular supplementation with big amounts of vitamin C or other antioxidants, they might be not good for the training. But we know that for short-term supplementation just before the exercise, very strenuous and prolonged exercise, that there might be beneficial effects, especially regarding the respiratory tract infections. So this is 1 week, about 3 times per day, about 500 milligrams, but not on a chronic matter. So dietary supplements in team sports, there you see what you can get is huge, the amount of different supplements. And do you really need it? Someone has the opinion that you need supplements? Here's a list, and here are the supplement or the substances where I think they have beneficial effects, the so-called ergogenic performance enhancing effects. And here I have the occurrence within the normal nutrition. So creatine within the fish and the meat, antioxidants in the fruits, vegetables, citrulline, it might be in the watermelon, perhaps you don't eat it so much, but there you see, normally if you have a balanced diet, it's sufficient for all the performance enhancing substances. Sometimes if you have a very big use of or a very high energy expenditure, you might increase the intake of these substances, and then you might use supplements. But on a chronic way, you don't need it. Let's look at the caffeine. So you can resorb it very quickly if it's taken orally. For you this morning, if you take a cup or also a pill, it's very quick in the blood. And we know that the plasma half-time is pretty long, 3 to 10 hours. And for athletes, we recommend to ingest about 2 to 3 milligrams per kilogram body weight. And we know that there's a really big increase in single sprints of about 7%. Do you remember how many percent increase were achieved by the carbs? 37%. So this might be only additional to the carbs, so the carbs seems to be even more effective. And there you see, there's also for the mental ability, improve the ability to pass balls correctly. And also the fatigue seems to be decreased, and but this is one effect. It eliminates the ergogenic effects of the creatine. So, but I think this might be one possibility to improve also the performance capacity in athletes. However, what is the big however?
The recovery afterwards. My experience of taking caffeine in halftime, after the game finished, the adrenaline went down. The low was rapid.
Yeah.
From being so high, I went to real low. That was -29.
Yeah. So this might be one thing that you use it only in one game, perhaps in the final.
Yeah, for example, playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. One other thing?
Triggers dehydration. You drink coffee, triggers dehydration.
Yeah. So just from the age of 18 on, we recommend caffeine for ergogenic effects. So this is very important to say.
2 to 3 milligrams per kilogram. What does it mean in a coffee cup? How many cups of coffee?
In a cup, it's about 80 milligrams. So if you take the pills, it's about 200 milligrams. And one thing which you can use, this is pretty new, it's the chewing gum. There you need very less, because the chewing gum, the caffeine, is brought directly to the brain, and you don't have to ingest it. So there might be even less. We know if you use normally 60 to 70 milligrams within 1 cup, normally in the chewing gum it's sufficient to take 15 to 20 milligrams. Excuse me. So if your weight is about 80 kilograms, then you have to drink about 2 cups of coffee, and then you have enough caffeine. So creatine, there we know that you have different periods. You have a loading, and there you can reach a muscle level which is increased of about 1/4. And this is also what we know. we have responders and non-responders. And because of that, you should try it if someone is responding on it. And if you take it just prior to the training, there might be an increase in the creatine uptake of the muscle. And this is also what we recommend, that you should take it also with the carbs and also with other proteins like leucine. And we know that there's a pretty long washout period. You should take it longer than 6 to 8 weeks, because there might be some adverse effects regarding the kidneys, and then you should have a break of about 1 month. So what's the supplementation with creatine in the team sports? We know that there's no effect regarding the recovery period, but we know that if the recovery is longer than the 30 seconds, so if the recovery is 1 minute, or if you take someone out of the game, then it might be beneficial. And this is also very important if you have a very lean guy or girl who has problems with gaining weight. There we also use it, and it's the fat-free mass, it's the muscle force. We know that this might be beneficial, but we also know that it's not only the muscle mass increasing, but also the water. So it's not the active weight, but also the passive weight is increasing with the creatine. And therefore, you should take care if someone is a little bit not so muscle packed and have a lot of body fat, then we don't recommend it. But normally it might be useful also for basketball players. And this is a very important message for you. If you have a balanced diet, there's only a small added value of any supplementation, so you have to have a look on your balanced diet. I showed you where you can get all of the, or a lot of the ergogenic substances also within the normal nutrition, and this is also very, very important. If it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. Because if you read it in the advertisements, what is promised there, I only know very, very, very few supplements which are as effective as they are told in the advertisement. And therefore, this might be the conclusion of the day. If we have a balanced diet, this is from the Swiss Council of Sports Nutrition. There you see this is the normal pyramid of nutrition recommendations, and these are the recommendations for the athletes. And there you can have a closer look. Also, what is very good is here the Swiss Forum of Sports Nutrition, and here the Australian Institute of Sports. There you can have a look, and some of the informations can also be found there. And this is also one nice thing. So medicine is health, is not health care. Food is health care. Medicine is sick care. So let's work on the health care and try to improve your athletes. And I think this might be beneficial. Thanks a lot for your attention. So it's a vast variety. So
Also depends how strong the coffee is, right?
yeah, of course. And how you use it.
Well, I'm talking about, I'm talking about 7-gram espresso. Let's say where there's 7 grams of coffee, because espresso you make anywhere between 7 and 9 grams of coffee. So how many espressos would be?
It also depends on the type of espresso. So so normally we know if you go to the supermarket and buy you can also buy a instant espresso or a cappuccino or latte or things like that. And there I think it's
about fresh and grain espresso.
okay. Normally it's about 80 to 100 milligrams caffeine in it.
Wow.
If it's was heißt gemein? If from the beans, if it's made fresh, so you have to drink.
Like 7 espresso.
Why that?
You said 80 to 100.
It's about 2 espressos normally. So, but you also have to know that some guys, they only have the positive effects when they drink the coffee with milk. And some guys, they have the positive effects if they drink it as a black espresso. So you have to try to figure it out how it works individually. Perhaps not in the preparation period and not during the game period. In studies? Yeah, there's a lot of testing, and we know that it's ergogenic. Perhaps you have the figure I displayed it from the Australian Institute of Sports Nutrition. There it was in the group A, and there we have a very big scientific evidence for it. So, yeah, and also some fruits like bananas, apples, easy to digest. Yeah.
Is there actually any food value loss in types of cooking, i.e. steaming, boiling, but is there a better way than just raw?
Yeah, that's very important, especially for the proteins, for the chicken, because you have the creatine in it. But if you cook it with a too high temperature, then the creatine is denatured, and then the amount is lower. So you have to not boil it, but you have to prepare it on a lower temperature, perhaps for a longer time.
Would that give you a bigger percentage, or is it just
Yeah.
a lot bigger percentage?
Yeah. So, team meeting after it? Yeah. And the last tactical advices. And then it's from 4 to, how long is it? Yeah, the massage should be done earlier, perhaps within that break. Yeah, team meeting with the preparation like taping and things like that, yeah? And then you go to you drive to the hall, the sports hall, yeah? And then you are there at 5 o'clock.
The game 6, you normally hour and a half before the game.
Yeah, then perhaps you have to cut half an hour here in the break.
We do it like this, 17, 18:30 game.
Yeah, finish. I'm not going to change your opinion.
Games and we are finished. When we said
Then 8:15, first carbs and proteins, like the drinks. And also during the game, do you have some supplements or some nutrition during the game? Do you use it? Like Shields or things like that? Do you- Don't you use it?
Only sweets.
Only sweets? Yeah, but this is only glucose? Yeah, this might be one thing, that you use the bananas and that you can put some salt on it, so you get also the sodium and yeah.
Well, you see a lot of emphasis drinking Red Bull as well. What's your opinion?
Red Bull, this is, it gives you the caffeine, but if you have the caffeine here, it's not necessary to get it during the game, because your alertness is even improved from that. So if you take too much caffeine, you have only the side effects and no positive effects anymore. If someone isn't drinking the coffee, this might be possible to drink also, because you also have the glucose in it, also in the Coke. Because of that, in all the marathon races, Coke is provided within the last 10 Ks. because you have the positive effects of the sweetness. So it's like a mouth rinse. You have to take it with normally 10 seconds within the mouth. Then you can swallow it. You have the glucose and all the caffeine. And yeah, then the dinner. It should be from when to when is it? Up to 10 o'clock? Or when are you back from? And your physiotherapy, when is it? Is it immediately after the game? Normally, yes. Isn't it? It depends, yeah. So normally you are back in the hotel 9 to 10 o'clock. Within that period, it depends where the hotel is and how the traffic is. And then you have the dinner. And in between of the, we have the proteins and the carbs. So you can bridge the time from post-game to the dinner, also with some carbs. I would suggest to take it 15 minutes after the game, because if you take it 15 minutes before dinner and you have some high-caloric drinks with proteins and carbs, no one has hunger anymore at 10 o'clock. Then the dinner, it's high in protein and high in carbs. And there you might also have a salad. And you also should try to drink a sufficient amount just post-game. It's about the 150% of the weight loss.
So you lose 3-4 kilos?
You have to drink about 3 to 4 liters. And you can also drink the proteins within the drinks. If you have an isotonic drink, then it's also possible to drink it and the protein shakes. And then you go to bed at 10:30. Then you have sufficient sleep normally. It's about then 8 hours. This should be sufficient for the athletes.
If you're a senior player, you can't fall asleep until 1, 2
That's what I was about to say, exactly.
Yeah?
Especially let's say Eurobasket, when you play 3 games, 5 games in 6 days.
Mm-hmm.
You get up at 7, you can go home after 1 week.
Yeah?
You end up sleeping 3 hours a night.
3 hours per night.
Well, if you, like, let's say Eurobasket, men's Eurobasket, you play 5 games in 6 days.
Mm-hmm.
If you get your team up at 7,
But this we said now.
I know.
One
But
game a
even,
week,
but
we are not in a tournament.
I know, but even there, I mean, you know, if you got 1 game a week, the game is at 6:30,
Mm-hmm.
you're not gonna get any sleep before 1, 2 o'clock.
Because of the activation of yourself, or because of the time schedule which is so tight?
Well, especially the older you get, you know, there's no way. If someone can fall asleep after dinner, 10 o'clock dinner, he's lucky. But in real life, it's not gonna happen.
So how many, we are talking now,
Kids
developing
maybe.
young players.
Youth can maybe
so
get-
how much sleep do we need for the kids? What do you would? for the-
8 hours normally, it's 8 to 10 hours.
8 to 10?
Yeah. But you have to sleep also in the afternoon. Do you also have it in the EuroLeague?
Yeah.
But when do you get up in the morning then?
Well, if there's a game, if there's a 1 game a week, I get up when I wake up. I mean, you don't fall asleep until 1, 2. Let's say like this under 16 tournament, you play what 9 games in 11 days. That's you're worse with 1 game, but if you start getting up at 7,
Yeah, if you
it's the balance between the diet and sleep. know, you can't get perfect at everything.
Yeah. So if you can cut out also the break in the afternoon. So you can switch everything a little bit later. And then if you... Yeah.
Just take this as like we try to make one sample. That's not the only one.
So when do you get up if you have several games in a week?
If I don't have a game the next day,
Yeah.
if no one wakes me up and I can sleep, I don't get to sleep until maybe 1 or 2 o'clock, 1 or 2 o'clock, maybe 9:30 and between 9:30 and 10:30, 11.
Okay.
The point we're trying to make is get time in between the meals. Don't have too much time in between, and get the right food at certain times.
Can I ask a different question? Can you talk a little bit about low carb nutrition, which is very popular right now, and especially endurance sports? How daily
Weeks, twice per week, you will see an improvement because the body learns how to activate the fat. So the fat oxidation rate can be improved by that. And this might be also beneficial for you if you have a tournament, and so that the players, they mobilize more the energy from the fat, and so they can spare the energy from the glycogen. And therefore it might be beneficial for you to do it in the pre-season period for the preparation, but not during the season. Okay?
This is something to think about too. Okay, 7 o'clock for us, and most of us, it's a little bit early, what we did so far. But now, okay, let's say we go wake up 8:30, we say come to breakfast 8:30, eat till 9, we drive to the gym. For scientific side of the nutrition view, it's not enough time. Either then the players don't eat too much because they cannot move, or they eat so much they cannot move in practice. So either one, or they cannot digest it. Then you say, then I rather don't eat. But this is not necessarily the first best solution. These are things to think about.
And it's also possible to get up early. When I'm around with the alpine skiers, we go to the hill at 6 or 6:30 in the morning. So we have to have the breakfast at 5.
You spend 1 week with swimmers, and you know what's getting up early.
Yeah, so it depends also on the sport.